I know in my generation, I'm in my 50s, that I wasn't taught to deal with emotions. I was taught to be quiet, like children should be seen and not heard. You'll get over it, all those types of things. And so I was just bottle them all up. And then you leave one emotion buried deep down, then over the years, another one comes on top of that, another one on top of that, another one on top of that, another one on top of that. But your subconscious mind remembers everything that's underneath that. And it tries to still heal all those emotions and the stresses, because those emotions are stresses to you.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, depending on where you are in our beautiful world. Welcome to an incredible conversation that we have with the beautiful Anne Barratt today on going from darkness to radiance, to really letting go of all that stuff that holds us back and radiating out our beauty. And we're also going to unveil the journey of self-healing and empowerment, which I'm really excited about because this is something that is really close to my heart. And thank you so very much for joining us. I'm really excited about this whole conversation. We do want to get to know a little bit more about you, of course. So I'd love to start with, just tell us a little bit about your journey. And what was the pivotal moment in your life, in your journey, that where you went from darkness to radiance to where you are now?
My journey is a very long one. I think it's a lifetime, actually, so it's going to be a bit hard to summarize. However, yeah, I started, well, I was a child of immigrants, so English was my second language, and even though I was born here, and then that in itself, I've realized has created certain limitations in my life, which I didn't realize, they were subconscious. And then over the years, yeah, I went into corporate and got sick because of all the stress and all the pressure I've been putting on myself. And then I ended up having to have surgery, which then led me to surgically induced menopause at a younger age. And that's when I really hit rock bottom for me. And I'm saying too many, but I got into a really dark space because that was at a time where I was still trying to have children, and having to have the hysterectomy meant that I couldn't have children anymore. I couldn't find the support at the time that I needed. There was no support for endometriosis or adenomyosis at the time. There is now. Even now, people are still screaming for more support with those health issues. However, at the time, there was even a lot less. And even when I asked my specialist what support is there for people that can't have children now that they've had the uterus removed, he just laughed at me. And anyway, so I was in bed and trying to work out what to do. And it's either go back to the way things were, well, it never would be the same way that it was back to corporate life, or otherwise I need to help and heal myself and learn how to heal myself, because I've been going to see doctors for over 20 years and not getting any results. And I still kept getting sicker and sicker. And I didn't want that to continue. And I knew that surgery was just like, for me, it was a band-aid solution. It wasn't getting to the underlying contributing factor of why I got sick in the first place. And that's what I needed to get to. So I'm all about the whys. I need to know, why did I get sick? What do I need to do in order to, so that I can heal? And so this doesn't manifest in some other way. And that's what, like, that fear of it manifesting in some other form, what led me to then start my new journey to learn the basics of anatomy and physiology, and then combine that with my Reiki, kinesiology, and everything else that I've learned about how the mind works with hypnotherapy and counseling, and helped then put all those together to heal myself, because I figured if I'm going to courses, I'm still paying all that money out, but I'm at the same time getting balances from all the other students, so week on week on week, and that was the best way. And then I got a lot better and stayed healthy, and then decided to turn this around into a business to help others as well. So that was the main turning point, was when I hit rock bottom after my surgery, and the hormonal changes that went with that sent me into depression as well. And I wasn't that type of person. I'm not, like, I could have chosen to stay that way and stay in pain and stay suffering and be a victim, but that's not who I am, and that's not the way I'm programmed. I'm always, and the human mind is always about self-improvement, and that's what I wanted to do, was continue improving from that point. but it's an ongoing journey. Even now, like in the last year, similar symptoms started coming back to what happened beforehand. And so I'm now on a new journey as to discover, okay, what's triggered this? And I think part of that is that I'm now at the age where I would start going through menopause. And so my body is already starting to show some of those signs again of inflammation and discomfort and pain. And yeah, just working on that now on a different level.
Thank you. Thank you ever so much for that. And I just want to take a moment just to honour you.
Thank you.
I really hear you. I haven't been on your journey as such, but have experienced a lot about self-healing ourselves. So do you believe, Anne, that everyone has the ability to heal themselves, no matter what?
I don't know about no matter what condition, but I know that everybody has the ability to self-heal, because that's what the body is actually designed to heal itself. And then if not, why not? And then I help people to find those reasons as to why not within my practice. According to Chinese theory, which is the basis of kinesiology, like everything starts with emotions, but where do the emotions come from? Does it come from the mind? Does it come from the gut? Does it, everybody's different. And even if two twins led the same life, they'd still be choosing to respond in different ways and end up possibly with different health symptoms based on their interpretation of their own world. And yeah, so I do believe that everybody can heal themselves, and how they choose to do that is, yeah, there's so many different ways to do it as well.
Absolutely. And thank you. And I also believe that. And totally agree that there are so many different ways and different modalities. You mentioned kinesiology, and I know you also practice bioresonance technology. So
Yeah.
can you tell us about that? What is kinesiology and bioresonance technology, in case for anyone hasn't heard of them? And are there any misconceptions about them? Do people not really understand what they are?
Oh, people don't understand. They can't even say kinesiology. I just remind them that it's easy. So you can say easy and then put a kin in front, kin easy, and then ology on the end. That's how you pronounce kinesiology. And you really need a textbook to explain what kinesiology is, but it's a combination of the science of anatomy and physiology combined with Chinese theories. And so then the Chinese theory aspect taps into the yin and yang of balance, and then expands that into, I've got my chart here, words for reference, the Chinese 5-element theory or flow. And this is yin and yang expanded, so in more detail. And then any aspect of your life can be overlaid onto this and reveal different blocks in your energy flow. And then essentially kinesiology is one of the very few modalities that qualifies me to look at a person holistically, rather than just going to a counsellor for mental and emotional things and things going on in your life, rather than just going to a physio or chiro for your physical aspects, rather than going to a nutritionist for your biochemical aspects. I can work on you holistically, looking at all aspects of what we refer to as the triangle of health. So one side of that triangle is the mental, emotional, and spiritual. The other side is physical and structural. And the third side is biochemical. And that could represent nutrition, toxicities, cellular changes, your electrical frequencies, deficiencies in supplements or in nutrients. And so if, for example, you're deficient in a nutrient, that would have an impact on your triangle, shape of your triangle, and your triangle would be imbalanced, which then represents you and what's going on in your life. So kinesiology helps to identify what is actually deficient and then balance out your triangle again, so that your energy, can flow again in that 5 elements. And because every element represents different things, every element represents an organ, it represents muscles. Every muscle on the body, is on a meridian, except for the eye muscles. And also emotions are assigned to different organs. So according to Chinese theory, it's the emotions get assigned, say to the stomach, for example, and then if it's left suppressed, that is, and not dealt with. Like I know in my generation, I'm in my 50s, that I wasn't taught to deal with emotions. I was taught to be quiet, like children should be seen and not heard. You'll get over it, all those types of things. And so I was just bottled them all up. And then you leave one emotion buried deep down, then over the years, another one comes on top of that, another one on top of that, another one on top of that, another one on top of that. But your subconscious mind remembers everything that's underneath that. And it tries to still heal all those emotions and the stresses, because those emotions are stresses to you. It may not be to someone else, but they are to you. And so the only way your subconscious mind, in simple terms, knows how to heal that is to activate the adrenaline and the cortisol. And then when your adrenals keep working by keep sending those toxins and chemicals to the emotions as a way of healing them, but if you still haven't dealt with them, it just keeps working and keeps sending them. And that's why people end up depleted in energy and not knowing why, because their adrenals are working without them even knowing, because it's trying to heal this old stuff that's stuck in your body. And yeah, so in kinesiology, I use muscle testing as well. That's been, a lot of people are starting to use it in other modalities now as well, particularly chiropractors. There's a difference between the kinesiology I practice, and chiropractors also learn kinesiology, and it's called applied kinesiology, which is different because they come from a chiropractic background and they're classed as doctors as well. Whereas a kinesiologist, I've just done traditional kinesiology through the ICPKP, which is International College of Professional Kinesiology Practitioners. There are other modalities which are also, people have created other versions of kinesiology, so they have other names like neurokinesiology, and I don't remember all the names, but there are different schools, and of course they had to change the name and change the course content for copyright reasons. Yeah, and then we work, so using muscle testing is using your arm like an indicator, like an on-off switch almost, as you would to switch your lights on and off. And when something is a stress or not for your well-being, it affects your electrical frequency. And the most extreme case, for example, which we used to see on TV and TV dramas, is when someone's told bad news and then they might faint. And so the brain does a shutdown to work out where it's got to send all the helper cells and then bring you back online. And so the similar thing, it's like anything that's not for your well-being creates like a stress within your electrical frequencies, and I can feel a micro movement, or you move. Some people's arm does actually completely drop altogether, but more often than not, it's just slight micro movements to indicate if it's a stress for that person or not a stress for the person. If it's not a stress, then the muscles stay strong. Oops, sorry, doing hand movements. Then with that, we then identify in this context of like their energy blueprint where their block is. And then if because energy is meant to be flowing constantly and energy is meant to be generated constantly, then if there's a plus somewhere in a block, that means there has to be a minus somewhere as well. And so sometimes the symptoms are actually where the minus is, because the minus represents you not having enough energy in that element or that muscle or that organ, or the ability to manage the emotions that are in there. But really the problem is up here, for example, in fire element. So we work then to take that excess energy and give it back to where it belongs within a session, so that when the person leaves here, that's when their own self-healing process starts as well. So I ask the client's body through the muscle testing how long it needs to process that. Nothing's instant. Everything takes time, because you're working in kinesiology at a cellular level, a neurological level, and the body can take 2 to 7 years to regenerate. So mostly 2 years, but some of the bones take up to 7 years from my understanding. The digestive system takes 3 months to regenerate every single cell. And so if you keep having digestive problems, then why? So there's got to be something out of balance, and it's about identifying what that imbalance is. In context of the frequencies and bioresonance frequencies, I trained using the AO scanner technology from SolX, and there are different ones. And this one, I found it took me years to find the one that I was going to be happy to work with, because I thought kinesiology does everything that the scanner does. And why invest more money into something that I didn't feel as though I needed? But because we are all frequency, like it's an energy and vibrational frequency that holds all our cells together to make each of our organs and to make our physical form, we have the ability to work with that frequency. Music is frequency, ultrasounds are frequency. The medical system uses frequencies to scan your body and to see what's going on in the inside. And same with this AO scanner technology, uses 4 different kinds of frequencies depending on what it is that you're wanting to do with it. And it has so many capabilities and functions, but the main one that I love using is the simplest function that it has, and it's called inner voice. And you simply talk for 10 seconds and it scans the voice, the tones in your voice, and it compares it to an octave of music. And then compares that to a database of over 200,000 other frequencies to show where you are out of balance. And so then it picks the three notes that are peaking and the one that's being suppressed, and provides you a 7-page report on what emotions are most out of frequency, and then provides you the balancing harmonics. So you then get your own personalized audio files to listen to. I'd say for home, I do put them on for 5 minutes during the session sometimes, and otherwise, yeah, they're just emailed to their home and they listen to them in their own time at home to continue with their self-work and their self-healing. And yeah, by listening with your headphones on, it helps with your frequencies and balancing the emotions and anything else that goes along with that. But it is an educational tool, which I have to say, it's not a diagnostic tool. It helps show where what's optimal and what's not optimal in context of your frequencies, possibly. But frequencies also change. So that in that moment in time, that's what you're vibrating at. 5 seconds later, you might be influenced by something else. So then the vibrations might change, but in that moment, the results show for that time. And yeah, I'm just always blown away by the way that technology can work. I recently had issues with, like, non-health related. It actually related to my business, because if you think about your business as a representation also of what's going on for you, I was having blocks with my business Facebook page. Like, a hacker had actually taken ownership, like full control of my business page. And I was dealing with Meta for 6 weeks, going back and forth, trying to get them to get back my access to my own business page. And I was and I couldn't even turn off the page at all because somebody else owned it. Then, as I asked my guides, I did an oracle card reading for myself, read the card, and it says, ask your angels for the answers that you need. And okay, so I closed my eyes, tuned into what should I do to get back my access to Meta. And I got a clear message to say, use your AO scanner, send it frequencies of cleansing and protecting. And it's okay, I'll do that. I hadn't even thought of that in the 6 weeks. I keep using it on people rather than on things, and you can use it on objects and animals as well. And yeah, so I sent frequencies to my Facebook page, and then I sent love and compassion frequencies to everyone at Meta. And then within 3 hours, I got my access back. Was that the contributing factor? I don't know, but I was excited. I was just happy that I got my access back as well.
Yeah. Wow.
And a physical thing, sorry, there's one other proof. I had a high blood pressure for 2 weeks, and then I thought, okay, I'm going to use the scanner, send myself high blood pressure frequency balancing frequencies, and immediately I felt the results.
Yeah.
So to calm me down.
Absolutely. And I'd just like to say that is amazing. And I truly believe that, especially with Meta in your Facebook page, that there are blockages that we're putting out that we don't even know about, because it is all frequency. Something's happening in our frequency shield, our frequency levels, that does affect technology and everything else. And we can rectify it. So thank you. And I'd just like to really stop for a moment. You are an inspiration. You really are, from your whole journey, from what you've been through on a medical thing to where you are now, is absolutely incredible. And I want to go into more about, self-healing and empowerment, because we've got lots of questions to ask you. So I think you're going to have to come back for a part 2. What I'd love to know, just while we're on the medical stuff and what you do, is how do you balance modern medicine with all the alternative techniques that especially when people come and see you about something? Do you still take modern medicine into consideration?
I do, because a lot of my clients are on medication, particularly those that have been suffering with high anxiety or depression, or any other diagnosed conditions, and they need it. They've been on it for 20 years. It's not something that they can just stop, because their body's got used to having that in their system as well. And so sometimes people are at a point where they've already spoken to their GP and they want to start reducing the amount of their medications that they've been taking. And so they often come to me for that support, to find out what else can I do for my body to help support it, so that I can come off it gradually, but in a healthy way, so that they don't revert back to the symptoms that they were having. That's one way of working with it. I myself have been going to see a GP because I started having inflammatory symptoms again, and yet I was doing eating healthy, exercising, doing everything that I needed to do. So I didn't have an understanding of what was going on. And it wasn't until I spoke to a doctor, I found an integrative doctor. They provide more details than your general GP does, and especially where I live. And she explained that it is likely that because I'm now at the age of going through menopause, that's why these symptoms may be coming up again now. So unless I'd spoken to a GP, I wouldn't have known then, unless I did further reading maybe, or the intuition told me, but I still reference GPs just for my own health, to make sure that I still stay healthy. My mother had breast cancer, but not till she was in her 80s, but still I have to go for checks myself once in a while. And you need to have a referral to go there. You need that modern technology to scan. And yeah, so it's still a necessary component in some cases. And I'm not trained to read blood test results, so I don't do that. People will tend to bring it with them to a session and say, look at this. And I don't know how to read it all. I don't know what's up to all. So I won't look at it because it's not part of what I do. And because what I do is look for the underlying contributing factors to people's symptoms and what got them there in the first place. It's sometimes one aspect what I find is we can work with what we call immune mismatch responses. And so sometimes people are actually experiencing like adverse symptoms to their medications that they have to take. And so we then find what can they do to their body so that it doesn't respond in the way that it is to that medication that they're taking, so it's not as, it can affect the gut health and what's going on there. And so sometimes it's simply like adding a particular type of fruit or vegetable, or adding a supplement, supporting the body with a detoxification process and all those types of things.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I definitely, want to go into it more. And it's true. We live in a world where we have both now, and it's being able to use both the modern medicine and all these other techniques that have been given to us, that a lot of them are very ancient and were around before modern medicine. So I think we're in a very good space and a very fortunate time where we've got both. So thank you.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'd love to go back just a little bit, if that's okay, because I know we've talked about that you were bullied a lot during your life and you went through a lot of health issues, but now you've come out and you're definitely a walking example of being radiant. You shine radiance through you. But how has that experience of being bullied, how is that able to help you now in helping others?
A lot of what I find that a lot of clients are drawn to me who have experienced similar things in their past. And so I find it's my lived experience that helps me to work authentically, speak authentically, and pass on my personal experience to others. So even I have younger girls come who have got endometriosis, and I've been there. I know what it's like. I know the pain that they're going through. So I can actually authentically speak. Then I have other clients who have not been able to have children, so I can speak about that. I have others who have stress that just got from work, and having worked in a corporate environment, always working up the ladder and applying more and more pressure on myself. I can speak about that. I can speak. And so the bullying aspect as well, it's like I interpreted it as bullying at the time. And so since my childhood, since primary school and since kindy even, I realized, because I couldn't speak English. So my parents taught me to speak Estonian, and I go to kindy and I'm speaking Estonian and everyone's speaking English to me, and I had no idea what they were talking about. And then of course kids like point and laugh and what's that gobbledygook coming out of her mouth, and I didn't understand them, and just didn't understand what was going on. I didn't know that I was different. But I realized that's where it stemmed from, was not being able to speak English, and then having to learn English as I was going through school. And so I've done past life regression. I've done a lot of hypnotherapy work and gone into those times as well. And that's where all those clear images came. And that's where my memory came from, because it's with stress, you actually lose a lot of memory as well. And that's helped me as part of my healing to realize that's where it all stemmed from originally. And then I started losing, of course, through people laughing at me and pointing at me and picking on me and criticizing me, I lost my self-worth and confidence. And I took that through primary school to high school and then into my corporate career. Like I had employers that would bully me as well. Like I literally had one lady that ran an agency. She'd throw things at me like a stapler and slam doors in my face and things like that. I just carried that with me because that's the energy that I was attracting. And because I was low vibration with the fear and the not being worthy enough. And then it wasn't until I actually had a kinesiology session that the kinesiologist at the time flipped that whole perspective for me. And it just blew my mind because I'd identified as being bullied. That's who I was, this person, the victim. And she said, have you ever thought that you're not the one with the problem, that it's them with the problem and you're choosing to take on their problems as your own? And she just left it at that and walked away and said, huh? Like, I was like, I was just in shock. And it took a while for it to compute in my head. And it was like this real big flip in my mind and completely changed. It's okay, if that's the case, then all those things like didn't apply to me. And then I can choose now to make a change and change myself, let go of all those stresses of the past and all those beliefs I had about myself, the negative ones, and start focusing on all the positive qualities. And it's one other thing I did actually, I was on a bushwalk. I find bushwalking is a really great time to clear the mind and getting insights as well when you're connecting with nature and grounding. And like all these people that I thought had bullied me, I started going through them in my mind and what it was about that particular person that I needed to learn a lesson from and what was their issue, like what were they trying to project onto me? Was it me? Was it them? And then it's like I worked through them one by one. And I found that a really cathartic cleansing process for myself to do.
It would be very cathartic. I'd hear that. And again, thank you for sharing that. It is a tremendous growth, I feel, in our whole journey when we're able to realize that it's not all our stuff. Like it is other people's stuff that they project on us, but yet we take it on and we claim to be responsible for what we're taking on, and therefore we can easily let it go.
Yeah.
And stuff. So thank you for sharing that. Got lots more questions, and that's why I'd love you to come back. But before we finish up, if there's anyone out there who's watching either the live or the replay, and they're just like starting on their journey, but they're getting overwhelmed. There is so much in today's world. We're being bombarded by so much stuff and so many different options. And someone's just starting on their journey of wellness, right? Where do they start? Besides coming to see you, which we have to talk about, but where do you recommend someone can start if they're just feeling really overwhelmed and not sure what to do?
To me, what I would keep reminding my clients of is like connecting in with the heart space. It's like and coming with answers and direction from there, because that's where your soul self resides. And rather than the ego mind, rather than thinking, oh my God, I've got to go here, I've got to go there. And that's the one that we get so carried away, we become overwhelmed and then we don't do anything. It's coming back into maybe even right while you're in that space, in that headspace, write down all those things onto a piece of paper, at least get them out of your head onto paper. So the manifesting is something physical first, and then just look at them and see which one you're drawn to first, and then give it a go. You've got to start somewhere and you've got to put one foot forward in order for the next one to move forward. So it's about moving forward, telling the universe you want to heal. It's putting that energy out there and showing that you're willing to do something about it, and just choose one thing and move forward with that. And it's choose whatever you're attracted to, what you're drawn to, and giving that a go, because what suits one person won't resonate with another, but it will resonate with another. So there's no one right thing for everyone. It's going where you're guided to, because if we're connecting with our heart space, then we can be more likely guided by our intuition and our higher selves as to what's going to be best for us. Because one thing leads to another. That's the other thing, is you might see me for your first session and no, you actually don't need to come back to see me. I need to refer you on to this other thing, or you need to try this other modality, something that I can't do. I'm not about come every week for a year. It's I ask your body, do you need to come back to me, or are you going to someone else, if you need to come back? And if you do, then how long do you wait? And yeah, it's different things, different modalities. And there's so many different things being created constantly as well. And that's the other fun thing. That's also, it really excites me and gets me out of bed. It's learning something new and trying something new, trying what resonates with you is what's important.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And it's true. What resonates with you? It's like, to me, it's your body telling you that this is what it needs.
Yes.
This is what it needs. So thank you. And before we wrap up, and we haven't even got onto your jewelry or anything else, but first of all, how can people contact you? I'm assuming you work with people online as well as in person.
Yeah, I work with people all around the world, as long as time zones permit. And it's not right in the middle of the night. Sometimes I will get up very early and stay up very late. But people can get in contact with me easiest via either my Facebook page, which is the @Empowering Health AU, so AU for Australia, or otherwise by my website, which is www. And on there you can see my full calendar of availability and book yourself online at any time. So you don't need to message me. That's it.
No problems. Thank you. Thank you for that. Now, is there any other questions that I could have asked you? And how would have you answered? Is there anything else that you would like to share?
Oh, I don't know. So many things. I think what's important is to just remember we come across so many, well, people come across so many negative things in their life and dealings with people, and then they struggle with people and or themselves. And it's like we vibrate at a certain frequency and attract. So it's important to raise your vibration, to keep yourself high. However, sometimes people will draw us down because they're our loved ones. They might be our partners. They might be the children. You might be your sister. And their vibration, they might be negative in a sense, or talk about their language may always be negative. So it's always important, which then makes them feel like it's a lower vibration. A lower vibration is a stronger vibration, and it's easier to pull you down into this spiraling vortex. And so it's important to keep working on yourself in some even simple ways. Just go outside for 5 minutes, or put on your happy music for 5 minutes and listen to that, just to lift your vibration. And because you have to remember that everybody has some value. Everybody is trying to work on themselves and be their best selves, even though it might not seem that way, but they do it in their own way and in their own time. Like sometimes people take, like there might be 3 years behind you, even though you may have started at the same level together, like particularly in a relationship, but you may choose to go through your self-growth a lot quicker than they will. But then at some point, sometimes the vibrations don't match, and you just have you have to choose to be patient, wait for them to catch up, or otherwise that's when relationships start to change and you go on different trajectories as well. So you always have choice. And that's the other thing. So remember, you always have a choice in life.
Thank you. Thank you ever so much for this. Like I said, it's been a wonderful conversation, but please do come back, because I think we've just gone over the tip of stuff, just the general stuff, but I'd really like to go through everything a lot more deeper, because you are an inspiration with your journey. And I think a lot of, especially women out there, can listen to you and go, I connect with that. I really feel that, because it's my journey as well. Maybe little different situations, but still very similar. So thank you ever so much, Anne, for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me
Today. And for everyone out there who is watching, I said either the live or the replay, do click on the links below this video that our amazing VA Maimuna has put in, and reach out to Anne, because you never know. You just never know what can happen in your life, and how someone can just tell you a little thing, but it can totally change your whole direction. So thank you, Anne.